Disturbing information coming from a confidential United Nations report. It says North Korea is still pursuing its nuclear and missile programs. The report was prepared by independent experts. Now, this is a complete violation of international sanctions, and it comes after the U.S. restarted talks with North Korea on denuclearization. 2 months ago, Donald Trump met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and proclaimed that North Korea was, quote, no longer a nuclear threat. Let's bring in CNN senior UN correspondent Richard Roth. He's in New York at the moment. He's seen highlights of this report. Richard, what can you tell us?
Cyril, every 6 months, an independent group of so-called experts provides a report on North Korea and its compliance or lack of with UN Security Council sanctions on Pyongyang. This latest report, as you mentioned, highlights of which I've seen, says North Korea is still working on nuclear and missile programs. Now, despite the peace overtures with the U.S., as you mentioned, and other Asia regional powers, this UN panel of experts says, quote, North Korea has not stopped its nuclear and missile programs in violations of UN sanctions. The report went Friday night, New York Times, to the Security Council Sanctions Committee. It says the North Korean government is evading sanctions through illicit ship-to-ship transfers of petroleum products and by transfers of coal at sea during this year. The report says North Korea has flouted, that's the word they use, the caps on its import of petroleum and crude oil, as well as the coal ban that went into effect last year. Now, the U.S. recently provided intelligence about illegal ship-to-ship transfers to the Sanctions Committee, along with photographs. So when they mention in the report that one country has mentioned that North Korea has gone over 500,000 barrels of refined petroleum products in just the first 5 months of this year, it's likely it could be from the U.S., and the report says other member states will now have to immediately halt all transfers. So you see the pattern and the trend according to this report, Cyril.
The report also says that North Korea is selling weapons to other countries?
Yes. Now, in the report, of which, again, I've seen only highlights, so until we see the full report and maybe get the entire context, one must always be cautious. But quoting directly from the report, it says North Korea attempted to supply small arms and light weapons and other military equipment via foreign intermediaries, including Syrian arms trafficker Hussein al-Ali, in the case of Houthi rebels in Yemen, as well as Libya and Sudan. The panel continues investigations into designated people and entities in Asia which, quote, clandestinely procured centrifuges for the North Korean nuclear program and attempted to sell a wide range of military equipment to armed groups and governments in the Middle East and Africa.
All right, Richard Roth, senior UN correspondent. Now we're learning. So we're learning these two things from this until now, secret report, which is that North Korea is flouting UN sanctions, is continuing its nuclear and ballistic missile program, and is also using intermediaries to try and sell weapons to other foreign countries. As we get this news, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is at the ASEAN summit in Singapore. That's the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Our Ivan Watson is there now. Ivan, is there any indication that Pompeo knew about this report, number one, and what is the North Korean presence at this summit, number two?
No, he didn't make any reference to this UN report in particular, but it was striking. He brought a much tougher line on North Korea to this summit here in Singapore less than 2 months after that historic face-to-face meeting and warm handshakes between President Trump and Kim Jong-un in this very same city. And Mike Pompeo didn't echo any of the triumphalism of President Trump, talking about achieving kind of peace and, hey, you can sleep well tonight because we've averted conflict. Instead, his message to Southeast Asian nations is to continue to maintain the economic and diplomatic isolation of North Korea to completely stop, as he put it, illegal ship-to-ship transfers of petroleum destined for North Korea. He said that North Korea, its behavior was inconsistent with the commitment that he said Kim Jong-un made to denuclearization. And this is important. He singled out Russia, claiming that it is helping North Korea evade sanctions. Take a listen to what he said.
We have seen reports that Russia is allowing for joint ventures with North Korean firms and granting new work permits to North Korean guest workers. If these reports prove accurate, and we have every reason to believe that they are, that would be in violation of UN Security Council Resolution 2375. I want to remind every nation that has supported these resolutions that this is a serious issue and something that we will discuss with Moscow.
Now, Cyril, you asked about the North Korean presence here. North Korea is kind of an affiliate invited to attend this summit. Its foreign minister has attended. Mike Pompeo was asked at this press conference around 3 hours ago whether or not he had met with his North Korean counterpart. And he said at that point, no, there had been no talks taking place between the American and North Korean delegations. The day is still young here. It is possible that there could be a meeting, though U.S. officials thus far have told journalists that there was no such meeting planned here.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that the U.S. Secretary of State isn't going to be made at some point or other during the course of the day to address this breaking news. Ivan Watson will follow up with you on this later. Thank you very much.